Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome back to a brand new TATPOD. I'm your host, Ben, and today I'm joined by channel regular Elliot. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Just a bit bored with the lack of footy, but we've got AFCON, so it can keep us entertained for just until Liverpool are back for Bournemouth.
Yeah, of course, mate, we have. And I saw Salah got a goal and somewhat of an assist yesterday. I've seen a few people claiming that he had a masterclass, but I'm not sure how much of that assist he knew about. But we'll take it, won't we? And joining us as well as a special guest is Lewis. How are you, my friend?
Hey lads, yeah, I'm good, thanks. All good here. It's been a busy day because obviously cover Everton as well, so I've been all over there. This charge, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. So there's probably more to discuss about them at the minute than us, to be fair. So I'm sure they're keeping you on your toes, mate. Anyone watching on YouTube, please make sure you're smashing the like button, subscribing if you haven't already. We've got a jam-packed podcast today. We're going to talk about Liverpool this season, contract renewals. We're going to talk about centre backs who Liverpool might be looking at. A few things that have come out today as well. So yeah, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, and get your comments in as well, because we'll react to some of your comments. And but before we get all into that, I'm just going to come to Lewis because I want you to just sort of tell the viewers, if they may not be aware of you, just who you are, who you write for, and maybe sort of just a brief summary of your journey so far as a journalist, and maybe, to anybody out there that's aspiring to do the same, what sort of advice would you give them, mate?
Yeah, so I work at the Mail. I cover Liverpool and Everton. I've done that since the start of this season. But I was there for a few years before that. I joined their grad scheme around COVID sort of time. So the first year was very much just working from home, not really doing that much because obviously there was no games going on. And then after that, started getting out to games and whatever. I was sort of covering the London beat because the Mail's office is down there. So I was doing the sort of smaller clubs, or definitely smaller than Liverpool and Everton anyway. Like Brighton, Brentford, those sorts of teams. And then obviously this summer, lucky enough to get the Liverpool job, start covering Liverpool and Everton. And it's been quite manic ever since, really. In terms of getting into the trade, I actually did a law degree, but I sort of got a little bit bored of that, didn't really want to finished it, but I was doing a bit of writing about football more as a hobby at the time, and thought I might try and make a crack at this. So I did a master's in journalism. This was in Sheffield. That was a year-long course, and then applied for a few jobs. And to be fair, got lucky, got on the Mail's grad scheme, and then it's been good ever since. But I mean, during the course, I was doing a bit of writing for random websites, writing in my own blog and stuff. Just basically, just get your name out there as much as you can, I'd say. Just write as much as you can, even if no one's reading it. Doesn't really matter. It looks good on job applications and whatever. And then obviously, now I'm covering Liverpool and Everton, and it's yes, it's really good fun.
Absolutely, mate. And like I said to you just off here, I was reading one of your articles earlier on this morning when I'm not sure what time it came out, but the one you done today, and it was a good article. And I would recommend anybody out there to follow Lewis, get him some followers up, and read his stuff, because I wasn't aware of one of the stories in his article today until I read it. So I even learned something new from that. Let's get straight into the business end then. And me and Elliot, we've spoken about things Liverpool so much this season. So Elliot, again, you're just gonna have to sit there for a couple of minutes and just we want Lewis's input today. We can speak to you in a moment. But Lewis, as far as you're concerned, Liverpool came off the back of a terrible season last time out. Let's all be honest. 5th place, no trophies. It seemed during a lot of the season like, is this sort of not like Klopp coming to an end, but this sort of era coming, like this team coming to its end. And I personally didn't see any way on how we could become title challengers again so instantly. So from you and your perspective, writing about the club and the players and the manager, how have you felt like Liverpool's sort of transition has gone from almost ending with what we had before, rebuilding, yet seamlessly going back to being top of the table going into the new year? I mean, it's been quite incredible, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of a season, I think. I think before a ball was kicked, I would have said finishing fourth would have been a really good season. If we finish fourth now, it'll probably be looked back on as a bad season. But, they're obviously in massive transition. They've got rid of pretty much the whole midfield, signed a pretty much whole new midfield, 4 midfielders coming in. There was all the talk about Salah, will he stay, will he not? I mean, it was never really likely to go, but that didn't help on the eve of the season, all that talk. And I think the ambition was just let's get back into the Champions League. But then the results just kept rolling in them first few weeks. They were winning. I mean, the Newcastle one especially, a goal down and they somehow win. I mean, at the time you think they can't, at the time of that result, you think maybe that one is a fluke. But then they just keep pulling these results out the bag. I've lost count of how many times they've gone 1-0 down. They seem to, however good they are, they still seem to have these terrible starts into games, but they keep coming back. And I think if you look back at any team that's won the title, then belief and mentality are the two things that sort of underpin any title winners. And Liverpool have got that probably more than any team, really. I know, obviously, Man City won in the last minute on the weekend, but it's crazy that they're top of the league, really, because if you think of the challenges they've already overcome in terms of, red cards, loads of injuries, loads of VAR shambles, going behind in all these games, and to be top of the league in the new year is just credit to Klopp and credit to all the players, really, for rallying. And who knows how long it'll continue. I mean, they've got quite a lot of missing players in the next few games, with Trent injured and Salah obviously away, two of the best 3 players, really. So if they can get to when Salah comes back to AFCON still top of the league, I think we've got to start talking them up as probably the favourites to win it.
There we go. And Elliot, like I said earlier, we've spoken about this plenty of times, and Mike's not on the pod tonight to ask him this question. I've been dying to ask him, and you know what question it is. Mike is, I still think he's refusing to admit we're in the title race, which is crazy to me, even though we're top of the league in 2024. Elliot, just, I already know how you feel about the team, but for people that may be watching on Twitter or YouTube that don't know your point of view, we were here in the summer, and I think, yes, we were a bit down in the dumps, understandably. We're not seeing this team finish outside of the top 4 since we first got back in it with Klopp. But I think we're all on the same page that had we signed the right players and trusted this manager, which most people with any common sense do, we would be just fine. And lo and behold, we've signed a few players, maybe a couple of them a bit more to prove. Like, I think Gravenberch could still probably do a lot of development there, undoubtedly a great player, but not the end product. But from what we had leaving, in terms of captain, the vice captain, and the best DM that I've seen in a long, long time at the club, like, for me, the transfer window is now. Oh, actually, yeah, we knew what we were doing, because Bellingham obviously shambles. It seemed like, the one we wanted didn't come, went to Real Madrid. And then the Caicedo and Lavia stuff, that was a bit of a disaster as well. And I think fans were rightfully, disappointed and a bit unsure as to what direction we were going after that. But I think what this has proved to us that this guy does know what he's doing. The club do somewhat know what they're doing, even though it might not seem like it sometimes. And it's sort of back to business as usual for us, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole Lavia Caicedo shambles, and he quickly moved on to Endo. Everyone was a bit, who is he, and why have they signed this player who's probably over the age where FSG want to look at players. But probably now, looking back hindsight, they did know what they were doing, because he's came in, and Liverpool are going to miss him. Lewis, you mentioned Salah, but Endo was a big miss as well, isn't he? But I suppose that you mentioned it there. Ben Gravenberch is probably the one out of the 4, isn't he, Lewis, where we were all excited about his start, because he had, I think it was 3 or 4 goal contributions in his first 5 games. And now, I mean, Fulham, it was like he lost 10 out of 11 duels in the first half. Is that the one signing where, Lewis, you're looking at it from your perspective and thinking Liverpool need him now to probably progress on, especially with the players missing at the moment?
Yeah, I think this has got a bit of time that he kicks on. I think, as you said there, he started really well, but he's really faded. You sort of can watch the game without really noticing him now, because he doesn't really have that impact that he had in the first few weeks. Because I remember reading the programme, and he was saying that his idol was Zidane, and I was thinking, well, he quite plays like him in them first few weeks. but he has really faded. But then you look at all the 4 that have come in this summer, and all of them have had the moments, really. I thought Szoboszlai was incredible in the first few months of the season, but he's not really lived up to those standards in the last few weeks. Endo took a while to get going, and it was only really when McAllister got injured that Endo really stepped up and started performing at his best, I thought. And obviously McAllister as well has had a few bad games, or a few below par games. So yeah, I think this is the time really where you're expecting Gravenberch to sort of, can he get in the goals a bit more? Can he start getting into the box and impacting the games more? He's definitely got the talent in there. I think he just needs a run of games like the rest of these players seem to do. And Klopp always talks about, getting a run of games in these players. I think the rhythm is the word he always uses. If he starts 2 or 3 in a row, then, I'm sure we'll be talking about him as, what a great signing he's been. But he's very young, plenty of time left. He's a great signing. Whatever happens, I think he'll kick on from now.
I completely agree. And, you mentioned there about minutes and game time, and I think consistency is the key. And it's sort of similar thing with Curtis Jones. Now, I've always told people to just, stop being stupid when it comes to Jones, because he's got a lot of criticism online and stuff like that. He's always had the talent for me, and I've always seen that he's had that talent, but it was all about the game time, the consistent minutes, and now we're seeing it. We're seeing Curtis Jones be one of Liverpool's most influential players whenever he plays. And I'm not saying Gravenberch is going to go on to do the same, but you can't really expect someone that's just going to come in and play the odd Europa League game or the odd cup game to just kick on. That's not how it works. The important part for Gravenberch is for me, it's going to happen off the pitch, and maybe even pre-season, the one coming up after the season's done. Okay, you've had a full year at Liverpool now. This is where we're really going to, tie you down to what we want you to do exactly. And maybe he'll lose a bit of that sort of, like he said in that program note, Zidane sort of play style. I'd feel like an idiot saying that, but maybe he's going to have to learn to sort of tone it down a bit. And the same thing happened with Gino Wijnaldum. I remember when he signed, I thought he was going to be more of a 10, more of a attacking midfielder. He goes on to be one of Liverpool's most important players when we were going for all those titles. So look, he's still a kid. He didn't play barely any football last season. It was always going to be a long-term plan with Gravenberch. He was never going to come in and just sort of be that, Jude Bellingham figure that we wanted. And I think that's fine. I think people need to accept now, you do, become your best when you're mid-20s. All of a sudden now, everyone's got to be world class at 20, 21, and it just doesn't work like that. You get freaks like Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mbappe, Haaland, for sure. They will, but not everyone's that level at that age. So people just need to be patient, I think. Moving on to contract renewals then, because there's a lot of talk and there's a lot going on with contract renewals, Lewis. And there's a few that are running out this season, but I think the ones that people are more concerned about are the ones for next season, because I believe Thiago and Joel Matip are out of contract, and Adrian this summer. And then next season, it seems to be Trent, Salah, and Virgil. Now, we'll talk about the 3 that are out of contract in the summer, because I'm pretty sure, and I'd love to hear your input, both will probably more than likely go. Although I did see Klopp's comment saying that we will, sort of be respectful and honour Joel Matip. So what do you think, in your opinion, with those 2 players, Thiago, Joel Matip? Adrian, I think we can all accept he's a goner. But yeah, Joel Matip and Thiago, what do you think on those situations, mate?
Yeah, I'd probably expect Thiago to leave in the summer unless he somehow has a really good second half to the season. He's not played a minute this season yet. He's barely even been seen at the training ground. I know he's probably going to be back training in the next month or so, or next few weeks. So I think unless he has a really good end to the season, I think it's probably the right time for him to move on. He's obviously not getting any younger. Liverpool have signed a lot of players in that midfield, and I think it's probably time for Thiago to go elsewhere. I'm not saying that'll definitely happen. As for Joel Matip, it's a weird one, because Klopp obviously did say he'll help him honour the deal he's got, help him, carry on his recovery in Liverpool, as it were. But if a club came in for Matip, I think the player would probably think to himself, like, right, yeah, this is my chance to move on. It's a shame for him that you won't get a proper send off, because obviously it's not a great way to see out your Liverpool career by just limping off in a random Premier League game against Fulham in the middle of November. It's hardly getting a guard of honour from your teammates or anything. But I think the obviously, as everyone knows, Liverpool's big thing this summer will be get a new centre half, because Matip is obviously in his mid-30s now, or well, 32 is he? So I think he would probably be looking at moving on. And I think that would have been the case before the injury. The injury just sort of complicates it in that, will he want to just try and get an extra year at Liverpool to get a bit of development, get a bit of fitness back into him, and then maybe he'll go out on loan and then leave after next summer. I'm not sure what will happen there, to be honest, but I'd be surprised if both of them are at the club for the start of next season.
Yeah, me too. And I think with the, we've seen a bit more of a ruthless approach, haven't we, in the last couple of years? I think to Klopp's criticism, people online have, and to be fair, a lot of Liverpool fans have said that he's a bit sentimental and he's kept on to players for too long, and maybe that's why we haven't been able to sell him on for money. You look at some players like, for example, Oxlade-Chamberlain. I was adamant for the last 2-3 seasons that, okay, he's probably going to end up at West Ham for 15-20 million, and it never really materialised. So yeah, I think judging by that and the players that left last summer, I do agree with you. Elliot, Jamie from Jamie Phillips Football Chats, make sure you go check out his channel, guys, if you are in the chat, because he does streams pretty much every day. He's top class content creator, and he says, Elliot, I think that both sign new deals. I think Klopp wants to see Thiago in this new midfield, and to be fair, he's got a point, because with all these new amazing midfielders, I would kind of be gutted if we didn't really see Thiago, play with Szoboszlai and play with all these other guys, McAllister. But, we're looking at big wages, a guy that he can't even play one game this season at the minute, it seems like. So do you just think it's best now we cut our ties with Thiago and sort of free those wages up, and like Lewis says, maybe invest those wages into something that we do actually need, which is inevitably replacing John Matip?
Yeah, I think it's just probably now you're looking at it as a risk. If you give him a new deal, I mean, it's all fine, and we're all enjoying the fact that he might come back. But as Lewis said, he hasn't even been pitched in training. It's like setback, and then it's another 6 months almost. He hasn't played. It's coming up to a year now. So I think it's just too much risk to even go, listen, we're banking on you to be fit. And I probably would say the same with Matip. It's a long-term injury. Any player at any age could come back and basically not be the same. So I think probably also with the centre-back you mentioned, Lewis, in the summer, Gomez moving to full-backs probably, push that higher up the agenda, doesn't he? Because he's been probably one of Liverpool's best players this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think... Go on.
No, you go. I was just agreeing.
I was just going to say, yeah, Gomez has just been top class wherever he plays. He must be the sort of player where if you're a manager, every manager would love to have a player like Joe Gomez in the team, because he's very low maintenance. He's never moaning about not being in the first choice 11. He's never complaining to the manager about being on the bench and stuff like that. And he can play right back, left back, centre back. I think that's absolutely perfect for Liverpool, and it showed this season, obviously.
Yeah, I agree. I think I mentioned this before as well with Elliot. We did a stream at the end. Well, I'm not sure when it was, but we basically did a sort of squad refresh stream, and I think a lot of us were in the camp of, had we got a good enough bid for Joe Gomez in the summer just gone, we may have thought, you know what, maybe it's down to part ways. But I think he is by far the most improved player this season for me, by an absolute country mile. People will tell me Curtis Jones and something like that. I don't think so. I think it's Joe Gomez, because like Elliot said, he's been one of the most consistent players when he's played for one. He's playing in a position where he's not really played whilst he's been at Liverpool. I know he's played full back and stuff in his career a bit earlier on, but obviously his best days for us was centre back with Virgil van Dijk. 18, 19 and 19, 20 was incredible whenever he played those seasons. We'd be screwed if we didn't have him right now. We're 2 left backs down. Our centre backs seem to get injured quite a bit. He is one of the most important players we have in the squad, because he can play those roles, and when he has played it, he's been brilliant. And that goal is coming. I'm telling you, he's going to score that goal this season. And it's going to be one of the best days in this club's history, let me tell you that much. Gomez, definition of mentality monster, setback after setback, but he's still starting for the best team in the league. That's absolute facts for one of our admins on the old chat there. And I completely agree. I think, like like Lewis says, his professionalism and his attitude to just get on with things and not kick his toes out of the pram, and not to, you know what, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to start for another team. Like, you know, he could go start at Tottenham every week in, week out. He's going to stay here and he's going to fight for his place. And I think those players definitely deserve a lot of respect, and fair play to him. He's stayed and he's fought for his position. And I think even when the players are fit now, you know, there might be conversations had that he carries on playing there for a bit. So yeah, let's talk about the other three then, the big three, as I'll call them, because these are the three which I think there's a bit of panic, but I am completely relaxed on at least two of them. The players I'm referring to: Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mo Salah, and Virgil van Dijk, all out of contract in 2025. Lewis, I think it's fair to say we should all be confident that at least Trent Alexander-Arnold out of those three is going to sign a deal, right?
Yeah, I can't see anything that would change his mind otherwise. I mean, he's going to be the next captain of Liverpool, team that he grew up supporting. He's just got his massive deal with Adidas and whatever. He's probably getting better every season, I'd say. He's in the last month before he got injured, I thought that was some of his best form we'd seen in a while. In terms of scoring goals, creating goals, he seems to have improved defensively as well. And I can't see any reason why he wouldn't sign a new deal. So I wouldn't panic on that one at all. The other two are a little bit more interesting. I think Van Dijk's got another deal in him at Liverpool. He's not getting any worse. So why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they want to take him on for a few more years? He said himself he feels like he's back at his best this season after a couple of years where maybe not Liverpool fans, but fans from outside of Liverpool sort of said, will he ever get back to his best after that injury? He's obviously the captain, and I think that he will sign another deal. I just can't really see a position where we get to this time next year and Liverpool think that it's not worth signing a new deal, because, you know, he's still one of the most important players, along with the other two, Trent and Salah, and Alisson. So I think, there's nothing to panic about on Trent, especially Virgil, 99% certain he'll sign a new deal. Salah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because
they're going to come back, aren't they, at some point?
The Saudis were banging the door down last summer, and I just think they're just going to be there again next summer. They're not going to go away. The money's not going to run out. So it's basically it's not up to. I don't think it's up to anyone but Mo Salah what he wants to do next. Because if he wants to go to Saudi Arabia, which, looking at what Henderson said in the last week or so, why would you want to go to Saudi Arabia? It's obviously different for Salah though, because he's the most marketable Arab in the sporting world. Will they sell him a dream of, what they can give him out there aside from the money? But I just think if I was Salah, I'll be looking at the Saudi league and thinking, do I want to go and play in front of 700 people when I could, see out my career at Liverpool and win multiple trophies? I mean, even if he wins the Saudi Pro League or whatever it's called, does anyone really care? But yeah, it's really what's going on in his head, what's going on in his agent's head, Rami, because I think he does have a big say in things. And yeah, does he want more money at Liverpool? That might be a problem realistically, because he's already the best paid player in the club's history. I can't really see Liverpool giving him a better deal than he's currently got, just in terms of finances and stuff. Are they really going to say there's an extra 50 grand a week or whatever? I'm not sure about that. So, but I'd still lean in the camp of I wouldn't be worried about it yet. But if it gets to the summer and the Saudis are really banging the door for Mo Salah, then maybe there's a case to be worried. But you just hope that Salah has some sort of agreement where he says, maybe I'll see out my contract, and then maybe I'll give you an extra year or so, and then I can go to Saudi. Because if you look at the condition he's in, he can easily play to these, Ronaldo's age, especially. And judging by the quality of the Saudi league, he could play there till he's 50. So,
no, spot on. I completely agree. And Elliot, coming to you, mate. You know, we see Trent be given the vice captaincy, and as Lewis says, he's got the new Adidas deal. He's wearing the Predators, and he's the real deal at the minute. And then Virgil van Dijk, newly promoted club captain, back to his absolute best. And then Mo Salah, like I said, I'm confident on the first two. For Salah, I'm very much 50-50 on. I would love it if they all signed extensions and then it was concluded with a Klopp extension. That's my dream. But are you confident, Elliot, that happens, or do you still think that maybe one or two of them might go, or are you just relaxed that they'll all sign?
I mean, I'm not like, sassy biting my nails every night going, oh my God, he might not. But to be honest, as Lewis said, Henderson's had an absolute mare. Firmino wants to leave. The standard of that division, listen, it could be sustainable with the amount of money they want to put into it and if they want to go from grassroots in the country itself. But at the moment, what they've done in the summer hasn't realistically worked, has it? Because 700 people watching games where you've got one of the greatest Liverpool players ever on the sideline managing them, that seems to me that it's not working. And I just think, why would Salah, who is one of the best players in the world at the moment, I don't think anyone can argue with that. He's top the assists and he's one of the top goal scorers. He might even be top. I'll have to check with that. But why would you want to basically waste your time challenging for not, European honours when he could be next season going for the Champions League again? So I am relaxed in terms of that, because surely he is one of the most, mentality monsters. One of the admins mentioned it with Gomez before. He is that. You see his tweets, you see his Instagram posts, his social media. He's always backing the club and backing himself to do better. So I just think, why not go and do better again? Go and win the Europa League now and do better next season by going to win the Champions League. And with Klopp, with that, if you sign 3 of the best players in the club's history, why wouldn't he want to, we've got a big group of new players, potentially a new centre-back coming in, going for the Champions League again, possibly with the Premier League winners medal round again. Why not? But at the time, we have to wait and see. But, optimism, I think, should be the biggest thing for all of us right now, Liverpool supporters. Seeing people kind of worry about De Bruyne. Liverpool top the league and in every competition they can be in. And you've got 3 massive players who could be staying for a few more years. Let's all just kind of enjoy what we're seeing right now. But that's all I can really think of. They look like a big group of mates who are enjoying themselves. So why couldn't we enjoy it as well?
Absolutely, and I am relaxed. Like I say, even on Salah, I'm not, like you say, I'm not, worried or nervous about it. If he wants to stay, he'll stay, and if he wants to go, he'll go. It's as simple as that. I think. Well, I hope with the Trent and Virgil one that when they were appointed captain and vice captain, that maybe there was some sort of loose agreement, like, oh yeah, you get this role and then maybe a contract will come. I'm 100% sure Trent signing. Virgil, like Lewis said, 99% sure. And then Salah, whatever he decides he wants to do, whether we go out there and show that we can compete on all fronts again this year, it might just bring that fire in him. And not that he needs that reigniting, because he's always had that, even when we've been at our absolute worst since he's been here. He's always been the one that gets us out of the dumps time and time again. So he doesn't need that sort of, burst of energy. But I think if we did show that we are capable of winning all these trophies, I've said it from the start, I think we'll win 2 this year, the League Cup and Europa League. Looks like that prediction could be very much on for me, at least 2. Then he's going to get that sense of winning trophies for us again, and he might turn around and think, actually, I'm not ready to leave this club yet. I've still got 1 or 2 of the big ones left in me. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with those, and I'm relaxed. Like I say, as long as Klopp's here, I'm completely fine. Lewis, coming back to you, then I think it's fair to say that the for us, that was both incomings and outgoings. We saw 5 leave the club, we saw 4 come in, and I think we boxed off the attacking options in sort of the 12 to 18 months before. Obviously, Nunes comes in, and Diaz and Gakpo both come in as January signings 1 year and then the next year. So it seemed like we boxed off. So I guess what's left now for this team is to sort of look at the defence. And I know you've mentioned it briefly, and there's a few names that you've spoken about on other channels and in your articles. So from where you're standing, what do you think Liverpool could be planning to do? And, out of the names that we've seen speculated, your Gonzalo Inacios, your Usman Diamandes and Antonio Silvas, who do you think would fit what Liverpool trying to do more from, the way we play and also the way we like to operate as a club?
Yeah, so it's nothing will happen this window, obviously. Well, unless someone gets injured, like for example, they might have to go into the market if someone get injured. But yeah, that means there's 6 months or so really before they need to kick on with this, and it is at the early stages. They're watching a lot of players, which clubs do watch players. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to sign them. They seem to have a bit of a. They seem to like the Portuguese market. Obviously, we've seen them sign a few players from there in the past. They're watching the two at Sport in Lisbon, who I've mentioned. One of them's the Gonçalo Inácio. He's left-footed. I think he's meant to be quite good in possession. He can play in a back three as well. Not that would really suit Liverpool, but I think I said somewhere the other day, with this sort of new system of Trent wandering into midfield, he could sort of play left back and sort of tuck in as a third centre back if needed, as we sort of see with City when Stones goes into midfield. You always have Gvardiol or Ake sort of come in as the third centre half. So that could be something that they're looking at. The other one's Ousmane Diomande. I think he's away of the Ivory Coast at the moment. I think he played in their game the other night. He's meant to be really good. I think when I first tweeted about it, there was a few Portuguese people in the replies saying like, yeah, this guy's a real deal. And there's Antonio Silva at Benfica as well. Now, realistically, they're all just names at the moment because Liverpool haven't. It's still very early stages. They're drawing up the shortlist. There'll be some player we've all never heard of that comes on the shortlist at some point. There's a few others around Europe as well. I think there's a lad at Bayer Leverkusen and a bloke called Lacroix or something at Wolfsburg. Not sure how to say his name. And the other one that's been mentioned before is Mark Guehi at Crystal Palace. I think this summer's probably the summer that he moves on from there. I think he's quite good, really. He plays on the left for them with Anderson. I think them two always look solid whenever I watch Palace. He obviously gets in the England team, which doesn't really say that much when you look at the centre-back options. England got Harry Maguire and whatever, but it's obviously a good thing. So that's sort of what's that, 5 or 6 names. They're watching them. They'll be scouting them. And then I'm sure they'll push on in the next. We should know more in the next couple of months, really, who they're really choosing as their top targets to go for, how attainable they are. As we saw in the summer, they've got money in the bank. They bid obviously over 100 mil for Moises Caicedo, so we know they've got money in the bank. So that's not going to be an issue. It's just what other clubs come in for these players, because all of these players that I've mentioned will be rivaled by the likes of, well, obviously Chelsea, because they're interested in every player in the world. Man United will be in the race. I'm sure Real Madrid will be knocking about as well. A few other Prem clubs, City, Arsenal, maybe, I don't know. So it's basically they'll want to get their shortlist even shorter, as it were, soon, and then they can start talking to these players, making a bit of contact with the agents and sort of saying we're interested. But as I say, it's very early stages. They're just drawing up the list at the moment, but I'm sure they'll be watching plenty of players for the centre-back role and just trying to work out what's best. But I think with obviously Virgil plays on the left, but I think a left footer would be a good one, really. I just think it adds a bit more balance to the side. Obviously, we know that Virgil can play that very well. But yeah, there's plenty of options, and we'll just have to see what the next couple of months hold. But I think they'll definitely sign a centre back this summer. Just remains to be seen who it is, really.
Elliot, going back to that stream that we did all those months ago, I think we all said as well that we need at least one centre back, and that was last summer. But I think the thing that we didn't know at that time was that there was a young Joao Quansah coming through the system, and obviously I knew of him and heard of his name, but I would be lying if I'd said that I'd ever watched him play. And I think obviously that sort of helped us this season for a bit. They've obviously seen something in him that they see as he's good enough to play here, and my God, they were right. He's absolutely phenomenal, and whenever he's played, he's never looked out of position. So we've already got him, ticked off for one of our future options. It would be nice, wouldn't it, to go and sort of not replace Virgil, but sort of look at that sort of player that will go on to be Virgil's replacement for when that sad day does come. Because obviously we've got Konate already, amazing, like incredible defender. We've got Kwanzaa. If we can get another really good young player to go alongside those two with Virgil's leadership whilst he's still here and his experience, then sort of be in an amazing spot to continue in the next 5 to 10 years. We'll be laughing, won't we?
Yeah, I mean, I'll quickly say I was looking forward to seeing Quantin in our pre-season stream, so I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one. But I think it all goes back to what we discussed before with the contract issues with Virgil. You say your replacement for him, like profile. I think we have to wait and see just what the club will say with Van Dijk and basically go, we want to keep you. We can see you carrying on going until 35, 6. So we'll wait and push back. And as Lewis said, look for maybe a left footer who can probably sit in, and it gives Klopp another little formation change or system style change within games, and we've seen how good he's been this season with the amount of substitution goal contribution. So I think it would be nice to see left foot. I think we all mentioned that in the summer, but Matip now push his contract going, and obviously the injury I think pushes Liverpool into that list. And basically, as Lewis said, it'd be nice to see that narrowed down. I think Gay might be one I would certainly be interested in, as you said, on the left. I know he's not a left footer, probably, naturally, maybe like some of the Portuguese lads. But I think it would just be, that's one way you can go in and you can just throw him in, more or less. I'm not saying that he would ever do that because he doesn't Klopp, but it would be an interesting one for me, I think, because I think he's Premier League proven, England proven. There's a lot of things there where you can just go, well, why can't he just go in and perform? So I think it's one really interesting one. I know you mentioned the Portuguese league, but I would like Liverpool maybe to move away from that, even though there's a good few young players there who have huge potential, and I think probably will get their moves probably within the next couple of years. But I think Gay would be a nice one for me, but it all depends on what happens. We've got to wait and see how Konate can carry on going without these injury issues. It's been fantastic because that hasn't happened so far, but that might come up again. Van Dijk, we just need to see how much he can carry on, and then obviously the progress with Conte, and also if Gomez will actually ever go back to centre half, because I think he's only played there once. So I think it's a bit of a waiting game now. I think the focus will just be on winning the trophies. And then you go into the summer with all eyes on that back line, really. I don't think there's need to be properly going into it right now. And I think that's why everyone should just probably be relaxed, because there's nice options for Liverpool already, isn't there?
Absolutely spot on. And I've always said that I'd rather just wait and get the right players. And, when we had the centre-back crisis, we probably should have gone and signed another one and maybe fast-tracked one of our potential signings to that January window, but we couldn't get Konate at that point. Leipzig didn't want to sell him for anything. I think they would have wanted more than 50 million had they sold him in that window. So, we waited, and I think that's the thing that we've shown, that we wait for our targets. And there's been cases where that's not happened, sure, but more times than not, when we do wait and we get the right player, we've got the right player, and we're all sat here, happy about it. And yeah, I agree with you. I think obviously the main focus is to just see out this window. Like, Lewis said, I don't think anything's going to happen now. I think everybody's pretty clear on that. I don't think anyone's going to come in. We've obviously recorded a lot of players from loan. See how we can get on the season. If we win trophies, which I think we will win at least 2, fantastic. And then we go again and regroup in the summer. So these guys will have a plan 100%. And I think the biggest tell will be if Klopp signs that extension. If Klopp signs that extension, I'm the most relaxed man on the planet, because there's no way that man would sign a new deal if he was unsure as to what sort of direction we're going in. And Lewis, just before we touch on our final topic, did you have any input on that? The Klopp one is the big one, isn't it? Which all the fans will be wanting more than probably any player to sign a new deal. So, yeah, do you think that's coming, or do you think he's going to maybe call it a day after his contract runs up?
Well, I think if you'd asked me that in the summer, I would have said maybe he would be, call it a day after this one because of the bad season last season. But it just, to me, seems really re-energized this season. He's smiling more, laughing more in his press conferences, running up to the cop even after games as he used to. Obviously, the fact he didn't do that as much last season was because they were losing more games and dropping more points. But to me, he just seems to really love this bunch of players. I think he said that on the record this season, that, he really likes his current team, Liverpool 2.0, whatever you want to call it. And if they win 2, maybe 3, even 4 trophies this season, I think why would he want to stay? Why would he want to leave? Because he's been here for so long now, but he's created a dynasty, and I think I saw a video yesterday on Twitter of when he left Dortmund and he was sort of crying as he waved goodbye. I just can't see that happening anytime soon. I think maybe the only situation is that I could see him leaving soon is if they get back in the Champions League next season, go on to win the treble or something, and he thinks, you know what, I'll just call it a day because it's such quit on a high. But yeah, he's re-energized. I can't really see any problems with him, and I think he's loving life in Liverpool, and I don't think he'd want to leave that anytime soon, really.
No, I agree. I completely get that as well. And when you go to the games and you go to the ground and you have that connection with the manager, you can feel it. It's not just a one-way thing. Like both the fans and the manager feed off each other, and I can't imagine a world without him. And I don't think he's ready to go anytime soon. And I think if he signs a new deal, that takes him to like 12 or whatever many years, which is just mad because that just doesn't happen in football these days. Like you don't see managers stay around that long. So Elliot, I'm coming to you, mate. I know we all hope and want it to happen. Are you confident that Jurgen's not ready to? Like, what is it? It's not next year, is it? It's the season. Is it season after 26?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I hope it is. If he doesn't sign another one, but I mean, I think Lewis hit the nail on the head with the re-energized shout. I think we've seen that quite a lot. We've all felt it really. But it's. I think I think the biggest thing, and I know it's going back a long time with the Premier League title. I think Klopp underestimated how big, this city and the fan base literally adore winning things, and that one was the big one, obviously. And so going on to win things, the quadruple near miss again, maybe you underestimated just how big this fan base literally adores the lads on the pitch and him on the sideline. So I think the fact that Liverpool are back up there, winning things, and there's no kind of, negativity surrounding it because there's a bunch of young players who are only going to go and improve. I think re-energized is absolutely the right word, because why wouldn't you be? I think us as fans are re-energized as well, so why shouldn't the manager be? I'm hesitant on being confident because every time it gets brought up, or it has done in the past, Klopp's always been one to go, I'm not going to be like Wenger, I'm not going to be like Hodgson, I'm not going to be on that sideline until I'm 70. So I'm not sure, but I think a few more years, I think we've all got our fingers crossed for it. I'd like to think, if he were to sign one, and if he was still, very hard on the fact he's not going to be a manager forever, maybe just a 2-year one, so he can carry on this young, basically, team, this young spine, and get another spine in, replacing the likes of Van Dijk and Salah. If he's in charge of that, giving it to the new manager, whoever that may be, I think that's the perfect thing, realistically, that we can hope for.
Completely agree, mate. Absolutely. I don't think he's ready to go. And there's speculation, and people always go on about, because he met another club. I don't think he'd go to one of these like super clubs with all these like riches. I honestly don't. I think he'd maybe go Germany, and then after that he'd call it a day. I'd love him to get this, as Ali says, to 2028, and then either retire or go to Germany and then retire. I agree. I don't think he's ready to go. Obviously, we're not ready to see him go. Finally, we're just going to touch on Kelleher for a minute, Lewis, because I was reading your article earlier, and I seen that there was a bit of speculation regarding Kelleher potentially leaving, and I know that he's spoken out about this recently, and to his credit, he said he knows he's never going to be the number one here. He knows he's never going to replace Alisson Becker. And I think you mentioned that Celtic were reportedly interested in him. So is that a move you sort of see Liverpool potentially? We've seen it a lot, haven't we? Liverpool get these academy players, make them seasoned professionals, then cash in. So do you see something like that happening next summer?
I think, well, first of all, just putting myself in Kelleher's shoes, he's in his mid-20s. He's not going to ever be the number one at Liverpool unless Alisson breaks his leg or something. So I think if I was him, I'd probably leave after this season. Just because why would you want to sit on the bench every week? I know he plays in the cups and whatever, but if they're back in the Champions League, then he's not going to play in that next season, is he? Like he has in the Europa League. So that limits it to FA Cup and Carabao Cup, and then all of a sudden, if you get knocked out of one of them in this first round or whatever, you can literally just play 3 games all season, and that can't really be fun for a goalkeeper. But yeah, there's quite a few clubs interested. I mentioned Celtic. Realistically, I don't think they'll be able to afford him. I don't know what their finances are like, but to me, that just seems like they're definitely interested. I just don't think they'll be able to afford him. The other ones, I think, are Brentford. Are sort of keen. I know they obviously lost Raya in the summer, and then they've got the new lad who's not, well, whenever I've watched him, he's not looked that good. With all respect. Brighton were keen in the summer. They obviously signed the new keeper in the summer as well. So that could be one to watch. And I think Wolves were keen as well. So there's a few Premier League clubs that are going to be in for him. Celtic are keen as well, as I say, but it all rests on Kelleher, really. I don't think Liverpool would stop him leaving if he wants to leave, though, because why would they want to risk the disharmony in the squad from not letting someone leave? He's been a good servant. He's been here a few years now. And I just think maybe this summer's the time where he thinks, right, because he will have, by the end of the season, he will have played over 15 games in the Europa League and the Carabao Cup and whatever. So I think, he's made a couple of mistakes in games this season, but I think it's not really done his stock in terms of his transfer value that much harm. So I think Liverpool will be able to get a decent fee for him, with probably from a Premier League side. And as well, he's not getting in the Ireland squad. Not getting in the team anyway, because the lad at Southampton seems to be their number one. And he must look at that and thinking, if he's playing every week, even if it is in the Championship, then maybe it's time for me to leave. So yeah, I think realistically this summer will be the one where he moves on. And I'm sure, as I say, there's 4 or 5 clubs I mentioned. There'll be loads of clubs that want him because he's a really good young goalkeeper. He's really good with his feet. I think he could probably improve a bit in terms of being more of a commanding presence. But that's the sort of thing that you can only do with playing games. So yeah, I think he's more likely to leave than not leave. But I think that's a good thing for Liverpool because they'll get a decent transfer fee, and then they'll find someone else who can do that role of being number 2 keeper.
Absolutely, I agree with you there. I think he's played and he's had these spells, hasn't he? He's played in the Cups, and there's obviously the penalty shootout, and I think he's had the glimpses of playing first team football, and just going from that to sort of sitting on the bench as to when we have a Europa League game, which we're definitely, I'm going to say that now, not going to have next season. We're in the Champions League next season regardless. So yeah, that's already games taken off him because obviously Alisson's going to play those. But Elliot, like I said before, mate, I think our academy is very much underrated because we seem to produce these players and then maybe cash in when the time's right. I'm not sure what we'd get for Keller. So Lewis says it will be a decent fee because of his age, and he has got the experience for his age at Liverpool. So do you just think it's a case of maybe get some cash there? He wants to play first team football. Both parties are happy, and then maybe we'll look at developing the next one, which could potentially be Peter Luger or Harvey Davies. Is it in the academy? Or I think he might be on loan, yeah.
Or Yaros, isn't it? Who's in the Austrian league?
Yeah,
at the moment.
that's it, Yaros.
I feel like he's probably maybe just a bit older now compared to Peter Luger, who's only 20. I think Yaros is 22. Peter Luger, one who interests me. This whole situation interests me because I really like what Liverpool have done. However, I feel like with Keller here, but I feel like they've just done it a bit too long now because, as you said, Lewis, he's probably like regressed, not regressed as such, but without game, Klopp's trigger where there's rhythm, isn't it? You can't be this big commanding keeper who knows how to command your defence when you get in a few cup games. I mean, last season it was awful for him because Liverpool done nothing in the cups and they weren't in the Europa League. So this year, what I said in the summer is that Liverpool will probably go some him, listen, Europa League, you'll get all the games and it'll be fine for you. Like you're going to have consistent enough game time. But what is he, 24 now? I feel like the time was maybe a couple of years ago. But listen, Liverpool might have to be waiting for Peter Luger. I know he's gone out on loan only to the Irish League. So I am interested in him because he signed him very young, didn't he? And he was an Alisson kind of recommendation, as well as obviously the coaching and people in charge of the transfer strategy. So that's what I would like to keep an eye on. But I think Liverpool will probably just go to Keller. It's up to you, because why would they? It's not one where they're going to go, you're staying here for the rest of your career, because realistically he's not up to the standard of Alisson, but who is? So he's not going to be, this future number one, and they just need to probably hopefully get a Premier. I really like Keller here. I do think he's a good goalkeeper, and I've really enjoyed him. I remember that game in the FA Cup replay against Shrewsbury, and it was all the kids. He was fantastic. He looked like a commanding keeper back then, and it's almost like unfair on him. I think that he's probably not got the chance at a Brentford or a Wolves, and I do think those two teams are probably. I think Brighton might be a bit too much, because they have. He loves to change his keepers, doesn't he, De Zerbi, which is all a bit mad. But Brentford with Flecken's looked terrible, I'll be honest. So I would like to see, I think Flecken's got the worst, expected save statistic as well. I think it's like -7. So I think it is. And listen, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it a couple of weeks ago. But I would really like him to get a Premier League move. Celtic would be great, but I just said maybe funds. But it depends how much Liverpool think he's worth again, doesn't it? I mean, I wouldn't know what price tag to put on him, to be honest. So I think that's one where they'll have to just see who is keen in the summer and maybe just not effectively cut the losses, get a bit of cash. But if they were thinking 20 million last summer or the summer before, maybe just cut the losses to maybe 15 or 10 with add-ons. If Celtic are the most keenest team, especially with Joe Hart maybe coming to the end of his time there.
Sort of for us as well, we would also probably want the team that would be able to pay the most money and probably the best package as well, knowing us. And is Celtic going to be able to do that? Who knows? I don't know their financial situation either. But I think it will be a lot on his part as well, and where he wants to go and what he wants to do. Just before we wrap up, I did see this kid's name being thrown around today. I think there was a report from via GFFN, is it, the French outlet? Apparently this kid's the next what did they say? Raphael Varane, and I don't know if that's supposed to be a good thing or not, but apparently there's a lot of clubs interested. Lewis, do you know anything about this kid?
I've literally heard his name about 4 hours ago as well for the first time. Yeah. I'd love to be able to say that I did know a lot about him, but not really. If he is the next Rafa Varane, then I'm sure if he's the next Real Madrid Rafa Varane, he'd be a very good signing. If he's the next Manchester United Rafa Varane, I think they should stay way clear of him. But I mean, I think I saw he's 18, isn't he? So I think maybe he'd be one they sign and loaned out. But I can't really say much on that. I've not heard anyone mention him to me in terms of Liverpool keen on him. I'm sure, as I said earlier, they watch loads and loads of players, so I'm sure they've probably kept an eye on him as well. They probably know of his existence, unlike us lot. Could be an interesting one to keep an eye out for in the next few months if his name pops up a bit more.
Absolutely. And guys, that's where we're going to wrap up today. I think we've got through an awful lot there in 55 minutes, and we needed to bring something onto the channel because obviously there's no football to talk about. Liverpool next in action on, is it Sunday, our game this week against Bournemouth away? So it's Sunday 4:30. We'll be back Sunday evening. In fact, no, we're going to do a preview show with the Bournemouth channel that we had on before for the home game. They're coming back on, so we'll actually be here on Thursday night for the preview, and then we'll be back on Sunday night for the match reaction, guys. So make sure, first of all, you're following Lewis. Make sure you show him some love. Drop him a follow. Massive thank you for coming on the channel, mate. I know it was we didn't give you too much notice, so we massively appreciate your time, my friend.
All good. Enjoyed it. Cheers, lads.
Yes, mate. And Elliot, I'm assuming we'll be back to talk about the Reds and how we're going to win everything possibly. And Mike's probably going to be there to tell us to shut up and stop speaking. So, guys, make sure you also check out the podcast sponsor, YourFutCard, amazing website. If you're into Ultimate Team or if you just like football memorabilia, it's the perfect site. Use TATPOD at checkout. In fact, I've got a Kenny Dalglish one here. It's amazing quality as well. Like, they're really fit cards. They go on your board. You can do anything with them. You can choose your stats. You can even put yourself on there. YourFutCard. They've been very good to the podcast, so please make sure you check them out, and we'll catch you next time. So take care and goodbye for now.